was supposed to be training today, but feeling a little bit knackered, so we've done 2 back-to-back rest days, so that then we can continue a split after that, rather than kind of trying to do deep volume sessions, trying to reset the body, just having a full-blown rest day, because I prefer to rest than being here and do kind of little sessions mentally for myself. So I was supposed to train with Kerry and one of my other clients called Sally, but obviously I'm not. So I am here being a PT, no, I'm kidding. I'm here to take the girls through a session. I'm going to do it as my session, but it's slightly different because they both obviously do bikini style training. I'm going to make it a little bit more bikini-esque, just so that we don't go too far afield from what they should be doing. But we're going to kind of break down each movement, know what it needs to feel like, know where it needs to feel, kind of know the key pointers, so that they can apply that into their training when obviously they go away, so that they can aim to get strong with that. I think there's a real argument between whether you should get strong or whether you should go more for pump. I think if you're someone who has ridiculous genetics, you can do whatever you want. You can do pump training if you want and you will grow. If you're someone that doesn't have the best genetics, that doesn't mean that, it's like I have good genetics, but I wouldn't grow from pump training because I'm not genetically, I need to get strong and able to grow. Even bikini girls need to get strong if they're not the 1% genetically, but just in a different way to someone that does figure training. It is slightly different, it's different movement patterns, it's a different level of strength, it's a different type of supplementation that comes alongside it, but you still have to train hard, and that's what we're going to try and focus on today, but just obviously in a bikini style way. So we're going to get to it, which is going to be a lying hammy curl. Obviously, like I just said, bikini style training is the agenda for today, which is obviously glutes and hamstrings majoritively for the lower body. As a bikini girl, do you need quads? Yeah, for sure you need a little bit of quad, but you don't really want anything sweepy. So do you really need any dedicated kind of quad movements? Not really, no. There might be a place for a little leg extension somewhere, but kind of compound movements, everything is just going to be focused mostly around the glutes and a little bit of hamstring, adductor, etc. So that's what the main focus is going to be today. But Sally's never actually competed, but she does have a bikini physique, and that's the style of training that we do want to do. I am trying to force her to compete at some point. I know. At some point in the future, it'd be great to get her on stage. And obviously, you know Kerry. Kerry's a very well-known UK Ifbb pro in the bikini division. Obviously, one that is very much pushing towards going to the Olympia this coming season and in seasons to come, but just hasn't quite got it yet. And I do believe that it's something that she can achieve. So hopefully a little bit of shuffle rounding training can help with that as well.
I'm familiar with using like these machines.
Yeah.
But I know the form for them.
Yes.
I think I do anyway. You can tell me if I don't.
I'll sort out the loading.
Okay.
In terms of the resistance profile.
Yeah.
But
no,
they'll feel nice.
Yeah. I didn't know that I was going to be training, so I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't have my logbook or anything.
Don't worry, it's fine. It's fine. Just see it as a session to go with the flow.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't see it as something that's serious. We'll not focus on load. We'll literally just go through movements. We're going to start with loading in the beginning to mid range and then into their mid to lengthen, just so that the girls can utilise their hammy in the full contractile range. Rather than obviously doing 3 sets, we're going to do 2 sets, just because we're not really going to be focusing on loading quite so much today, but more about getting the movements completely right. So Sally's going to be a little bit more of a demonstrator alongside me. So we're going to start with a lying hammy curl, which is basically where we're going to lie flat along here. We need to make sure that our chest is coming away from the pad just a little, just to make sure that your back can stay completely flat. That's what you need on this specific piece. If you use other specific pieces, you might not need to do that, but this one you definitely do. We want to make sure that the core stays that tight that you almost feel like your hips are coming underneath you, and that way you'll keep everything locked in. That you are going to get an element of hip shift when you do bring your legs over, but we need to make sure that for the most part our hips stay down so that we can keep everything in our hammies. We want to bring our chest up a tiny little bit away from the pad, but we don't want to arch us back. We want to focus on keeping our hands locked into the little hand holders. Hips under a little bit, but more so from the element of thinking, right, okay, let me keep my core locked really tight so that my back stays nice and flat. Because you are going to see your hips move a little, but we don't want to see them shoot up. If you shoot up, you'll not utilise your hammy. So we want to keep them as still as possible with a tiny little bit of a shift, as you literally just focus on your shin driving up to 90 degrees slash a little bit past 90 degrees, all the way back down to straight, but only to the point where you still keep tension on. For me, I keep tension on with a tiny little bend in my knee. If I fully straighten my knee, it completely goes from the hamstring. So we want to keep a little bit of a bend at the knee, pause there, and then pause at the top as well. Do you want to go first? Yeah, just leave it there, The weight should feel okay. Did that feel okay?
Might need to change this.
Perfect.
Did it feel heavy?
No, it felt alright.
Okay, good. Okay, so core lock super tight, and then let's go. Yeah, that's beautiful. Take your feet a tiny little bit narrower, just because we want to keep the hips to knees to feet completely aligned. That's better. Yeah, that's better. That's nice. Beautiful. Have a dominant place on your body. It's like me. I've got a dominant quads. If I do a lat raise, I feel like I'm getting a pump in my quads. I swear to God. Yeah, so I think sometimes learning to, or at least having someone cueing you to disengage and you're like, okay, yeah, let me focus on the movement of where I need to feel it.
Yeah.
With my hamstring holds, I always find I really struggle to get people to not move their hips.
Yeah.
But even as I say, don't move your hips, it's like it just
I think if you cue core tight rather than don't let your hips shift, I think that you instantly go, ugh, and you can't move your hips.
Yeah.
And I think also people take their feet way too far. If they bring their feet too far, you actually then just go into almost using your lower back and your glutes rather than your actual hammies. So if you keep the range of motion where it needs to be and the core tight, the hips don't move anyway. There, perfect, that's nice. Good. Nice and slow on the way down. Remember, that's a really important part of the movement. And again, let's go. Nice. And one more. Good. Very nice. When it starts to get hard, they turn their toes out, because when you turn your toes out, you start to kind of create momentum from your knees. I don't know the scientific terms behind it, but you definitely turn the toes out when it starts to get hard. Focus on keeping them completely straight, toe to heel, to knee, to hip, everything aligned, and it will work so much more with your hamstrings. There at the top, beautiful, and on the way back down. Nice, very nice. Beautiful, very nice. Let's see 3 more. Good. Core nice and tight. And one more. And drag. Very nice, very nice. That was good, that was a good set. I'd use the same load as what you used before, but it'll feel slightly different. It'll feel a little bit heavier at the bottom before you start, and then a little bit lighter at the top.
Okay, again, 10 to 12.
Yes, please, yeah. Good. Nice. Let those shins come over just a little bit more. Let your shins come over just a little bit more, yeah, please. Perfect. So core nice and tight. Keep that chin where it is, and lock yourself in nicely with these. Good. Beautiful. Feet in a little bit. Perfect. Pause and drag. That's better. Let's see 2 more. Core nice and tight. Drag up and pause. Lovely. Very nice. And 1 more. Drag. Bring it. And slowly on the way down. Slow, 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 slow. Nice. They're the same size as the 20, so we'll put them on.
Okay.
So there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because then that takes us to what, 50? And then we can just add to that if we want to. So, with an RDL, we want to make sure again that we want to keep our feet, toes, knees all aligned. So we don't want to have really wide feet. We don't want to have them super narrow. We want to have them at hip width. If you have them too narrow, if you have them too wide, you can't actually let your hips work, which then kind of disengages your glutes because you can't actually get hip extension if you're not fully aligned. So we want to have them in alignment. We don't want to have the toes turned out. There's so many people that do it. It doesn't make your glutes work anymore. We do want to have the feet completely narrow. Narrow? Forwards. With the hands, we want to make sure that your hands are around shoulder width. We want to make sure that your shoulder blades are pulled back towards each other. Chest nice and tall. Chin not drop down to the chest but not looking up and around. You want to keep it in so that it's nice and neutral at all time. At the bottom of the movement, you basically want to look as though you're a tabletop. So your legs are literally completely down towards the floor. Your hips are back, but then your back is completely flat all the way from your hips to your lower back to your chin. And that's basically what an RDL needs to look like. You can bias your back or your mid-back when you do a pull, but that's if you keep your hips under and if you almost have a little bit of a rounding in your upper back. That's why you want the complete opposite. I want you to think about more of a really strict knee rather than thinking about loading, because we want to bias the glutes and hammies. We don't want any erectors back. Are we going to get a little bit in there? Yes, 100%, you can't get away from it, but you want to bias it more by keeping everything nice and aligned. I'll do a demo and then I'm happy for you to get near it. With hip extension as well, when you're focusing on hip extension rather than letting your chest come up and down, you won't be able to get your things all the way down to the floor, the bar all the way down to the floor, because you just can't in terms of your range of motion. Unless you've got the range of motion of some kind of cat, you won't be able to.
There's like a point, isn't there? Like I think around here, my back starts to
round a little bit.
So like,
scientifically, I don't 100% know, but you literally can only go as far as it'll take you. I can go a bit deeper because I'm a bit flexible, so that's fine. And if you can't, you can't. So you just want to go to where you can and then back up. I want no rounding of your hips or your upper.
I have a question. So a powerlifter once told me to go like, when you're locking, like to keep your back locked, to go like that.
Yeah.
Is that like?
It's locking in. It is.
Because I find it helps me.
It's a really good tip because it makes you think about bringing your shoulder blades back towards each other, which then keeps your chest nice and tall. So yeah, it's something that you can definitely use. I don't think about it from that sense of my hands. I think about it more from my shoulders.
Right.
But if it feels good and right for you mentally to think about that, please do.
Okay.
More from a core tension. Yeah. I want you to
make you
use
stronger,
your core.
right?
I don't want you specifically to do a really strong RDL, because when it comes to a strength RDL like mine, do I get an element of my shoulder blades rolling because it's so heavy? Yes. Does that mean that I get more erector and mid-spine because of that? Yeah. I don't want that for you. I want it strict.
Okay, please tell me you allow wraps.
Yeah,
I was going to say, get training my forearms.
Please do. Yeah, now and then we'll put some, Take your feet a little bit wider. A little bit more. A little bit more. And now put your heels in alignment with your toes. There we go. That's your hips. Yeah. It moves so much better.
Yeah.
Let it come a little bit lower. That's lovely. Leave it there. Yep. I want you to keep a soft knee in terms of I don't want it completely straight.
Okay.
But when you bring your hips back, don't let your knees angle change. So I don't want you to let your knee bend. That's why you will have felt your quads before, because your knees are travelling forwards.
Right.
Always just focus on literally your hips going that way and then your hips coming this way.
So
Hips.
here.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's so nice. That's really nice. When I got back into training after I broke my foot.
Yeah.
Because we both had quite similar injuries. when I do barefoot, I feel like I'm utilising my feet a little bit more,
Right,
so there's
okay.
more firing, so it makes it so that there's a little bit less of an imbalance. You might want to trial it with no shoes.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
So just wider feet, but everything else the same.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The only thing needs to be moving is your hips, forwards and back, forwards and back. It's
Yeah.
like people try and make a squat pattern too difficult. Literally the only thing that someone has to think about when they're squatting is your knees driving forwards and your positioning staying locked in.
Yeah.
But everybody overthinks things too much.
Yeah,
And
and
it
I think
literally
it's-
has to be simple.
It's like,
Good. Good. 2. Sally she had her feet way too narrow. She has quite wide hips. So I think that sometimes when you look at someone's hip distance apart, it can seem quite narrow. Like I have quite narrow hips, whereas the Sally, hers have to sit a good kind of 5 centimetres wider than mine. So sometimes that visual kind of can give you a little bit of like a confusion. Just always make sure that your hip width is your hip width, not someone else's hip width. Put it on a Smith machine where the bar literally can't travel and you're forced to make the movement come from your hips. Obviously the bar is a little bit more kind of, there's a risk with this one because you've got no stability with it, whereas in a Smith machine you're completely safe.
Yeah.
People feel safe in there. So if you can't get it going in here, we do it in the Smith. One of my, Fiona, so I got her doing it on the Smith machine and now she can completely do it freeway. It's that kind of, it's confidence.
Yeah.
People just don't feel confident to drive their hips back. The girls just asked me why we don't want to use this one and we want to use this one. So this is a pivot leg press. The same as an Atlantis. Obviously here at Rotherham, we have got the luxuries of having so many different machines that we can literally do a different session for 365 days of the year if we wanted to, which is super amazing. But when it comes to a pivot leg press, you actually find that your knees start shooting backwards and it's really hard to actually keep no knee flexion, which is obviously what you want when you're doing a glute bias press. You can't use your hamstrings when you're doing a leg press, so there's no point in calling it glutes and hams. It is literally just glutes that you are focusing when you do a leg press. But you actually find that your knees do shoot back when you do a movement on a pivot press, whereas on a 45 degree you don't. It's pretty much just the same angle. So you can focus on keeping no knee flexion, which is why I tend to utilise that rather than that. And we should have told this guy to keep these plates on there, but we haven't got him.
yeah.
Anything that we ever do that we want to bias the glute, we want to have 0 knee flexion, which means no knees travelling over the toe. We basically want to try and keep the shin still. Like when you do a squat, and if you're doing a hip dominant squat, which is a glute dominant squat, you want to focus on keeping your shin completely vertical to the floor. Same as when you do a glute bias split squat, which is what we're going to move on to in a minute anyway. So here, everybody's foot positioning will be slightly different because it depends how wide your hips are, just like what we've done on the RDL, and it depends on how deep, well, how you can keep your feet, or how low you can keep your feet without the knees travelling forwards. So for me, I'm so short.
Jump in there.
I'll take that down. For me, I tend to have to go kind of mid plate, obviously hip width apart, driving up, and then I can literally bring all of my knees in without my actual knees driving over my toes. Obviously, that's not how you would utilise the leg press. You do want to make sure that you have full contact points with your hands, because if you don't, you'll not be able to lock yourself in, you'll not be able to brake, you'll not be able to keep your hips into the seat, which is so important. So hands completely in, making sure that you're pulling yourself down. You want to keep the core nice and tight, chin into your chest, so you want to keep yourself nice and neutral, bringing your knees all the way into your body, no knee flexion, and then driving back up. And then the same again, and driving back up. So someone that has great glutes naturally tends to have that lower back arch. I think it's hard to then create that pelvic tilt that you do need to be able to keep that core super tight, which then creates less pump and arch in the lower back. So I think that for you have to over-exaggerate that a little bit more compared to most. Yeah, but not to the point where you're hunchback and Notre Dame, but you do need to create that little bit more of a hips under to be able to keep everything locked in.
just lift. You probably did as well. And you could go heavier.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're keeping your core tight, it's almost like you have to take the weight back a bit.
It's much harder because you're actually utilising the muscles that you're supposed to be. If you move the weight from A to B and literally just use momentum to be able to get it there, for something like a leg press, I'd say a good kind of 3.5 minutes between each set. Yeah, but not when I'm warming up. A kind of minute and a half. That's it. When it's my working sets, I would take that long. I'd try and imagine what it'd be like if I had 2 people training with me.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how I think about it. Everyone's different. Score. Side. Slowly. Good. 3 more.
Chin tuck here. A bit more bracing here. Right, pause now, and drive up. How's that feel?
Yeah, okay, I'm not feeling it in my quads.
Let's go. Pause now, drive. Pull yourself in hard. That's it. Pull your hips in, that's better. And drive. Way better. Pause and drive. Right, get your breathing right. Inhale on the way down as well. Don't go any deeper. Pause and drive.
A little bit slower on the way down.
Feet in control. And drive.
That's better. Keep them knees out.
And drive.
Okay.
For now, until you nail the movements completely,
I've said not to do
don't
100%
go
now,
completely deaf, Otherwise, like the last few reps, it's starting to get a little bit.
Yeah.
You'll get there, but it's just going to take time.
Yeah.
When I personally do D-volumes, or when me and Kuba do D-volumes, we prefer to take actual rest days compared to doing D-volume sessions. D-volume sessions to me feel so pathetic. I'm not saying that they are pathetic, but I just feel like I don't mentally feel good when I do them because I like to be in here and working really hard. So I'd rather take more rest days than taking less rest days and a few D-volume sessions just because I like to get to work when I'm here. You don't have to bring your chest up either when you come up to standing. Just keep it there, It'll keep more tension on your glute at the top anyway. Beautiful, very nice. When you come down, focus on having a tiny little rotation with your hips towards Aaron. There. Just only a tiny bit. That's perfect. That should have a little bit more tension on your glute as well. Let's try it on your other leg.
That hip start turning, and then lean forward a touch as you come down. Now sit back into it as you come down. Up. Right, jump off. That needs to come a lot further forward.
Yeah.
Any movement that you do, you want to try and keep your shin vertical. As soon as you came down there,
it went over.
Straight through. The more your knee travels forward, the more your quad will stretch.
Okay.
So, again, any movements like this, we can't totally isolate your glute, right? But you can change it to get them more out of your glute. So if your shin stays vertical, right, your glute's going to be forced to do a lot more work for everything that you do, right? Let's go again. There we go. And shift back, find it, that's it. And sit back into it, that's it.
Okay, right here.
That's better. See now, you can actually sit back into it,
Yeah, and then...
There we go, and now control down, and sit back. And drive up. Right, that hip turn in a little bit more. There, and sit back into each rep a little bit more. Sit back into it. Pause, and drive. Hit in. There we go. And drive. Keep finding pressure down into that point here. That's it. And drive. There we go. Yeah. Two dumbbells for you, Kerry. 2 dumbbells first.
Yeah, 2. Okay.
Once you nail it with both dumbbells, then we use 1.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. Sit back into it. Pause here and drive up. That's it. You don't need more range for you, yeah? Good. Stay tight. Control, control. And drive. Good. Take your time, take your time. That's it, Kerry. Yep. Turn that hip in. Opposite side hip in. That's it. Yes. And drive. Hip. So anything you do with the leg presses, you want your foot almost just inside of your hip. Like, even when you're walking, right? A lot of people walk like this, right? Including myself. And that's like all adductor, no glute. If I force myself to think about walking like this, my feet straight, my glutes genuinely hurt just from walking. So when you're doing lunges, I literally want you to literally go here, boom, that's the same position here, there, and drive up. So as you go here, and drive up. And what you'll notice, your glutes will just get smoked straight away. Because as you're going into it, you're not stretching your quad, you're literally stretching your glutes straight away, yeah? So just get some dumbbells, just do a little walk, just in the lunges, just to keep that motion as well, yeah? Yes, yes, yes. So, beauty of the dumbbells as well, go on, go step. You can use this dumbbell to cue it in, do you know what I mean? So you step into it, that's it. Yes.
Go down the route of being super scientific and speaking about what's the best, but sometimes you do have to think and feel what's best for you. When it comes to kind of positionings with the bench, you want to keep the bench not really much lower than here across your back. I can't reach very well because I'm a bit too big, sorry, but it's just literally just sat below your rear delts. So that's where your bench wants to be. Obviously you want your hips, your bar to be right across your hips, and you want to make sure that your shins are completely parallel to the floor. At all times, you want to keep your chin into your chest, you want to keep your core locked super tight, and you want to think about always having your hips under when you come down. So when you break to come down, you want to keep your hips under. That will keep all the tension into your glutes rather than it going into your lower back and it all becoming kind of a nondescript movement anymore. When you do drive your hips up to the ceiling, you want full extension to the point where you can't extend them anymore. If that means that it kind of looks a little bit arched, so be it. My hips do not break or arch. They stay under, and when I come through, they come all the way through to the top. I actually think I need to have my feet a little bit further forward because they're not vertical, I can feel it. So hips under, hips all the way through. Chin onto your chest, core locked super tight. Feet a little bit further back, and then all the way through to the top. Beautiful, very nice.
Is that about it?
That's perfect. So, take that foot in just a little bit, there, perfect. How does that feel?
I think the bench might need to come forward a touch. Are you trying to tuck like your tailbone under a bit?
At the bottom.
Not at the top?
A little bit, not too much. Don't over exaggerate it at the top. That's nice.
That's so weird, it feels like that. It must be because I do it like that.
With me. A little bit long, a little bit more. Up, all with you. Harder. Yeah. Touch more.
I think I need to come like, that's better.
That's it.
I can feel my quads.
Normal session, you wouldn't do as much work as you've done today.
Yeah.
Here, you need to make sure your upper back is across on the bench.
Is where?
Across on the bench.
Right, okay.
So you want to make sure you kind of slide down that a little bit more, just so you've got more range of motion.
Okay.
But hips, again, come down literally enough just to drop the hips down.
Feature of Cuba that came to join us for a couple of exercises. Obviously my base of knowledge has come from him and Jordan pretty much, and then obviously a lot of people that have obviously supported them as well. So I try to mix things myself as well, but obviously my base and knowledge is that, so it's nice to have his input from today. So I hope you've enjoyed it, something slightly different, it's not just a session of me grunting and not talking a lot. So hopefully we'll do a little bit more of the informative stuff. But if you did enjoy it, or if you'd like to see anything else, please leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'm sure you'll see much more of these ladies in time to come.